Right. So in this chapter, we're going to talk about different ways that we have on-site registration in the pickup as people are coming to check into the conference, as well as other services that we might provide during a meeting. So as far as registration at the conference, typically we are going to have a specific area set up for the registration at a convention or a meeting. This is not the same as our guest room, so our guests are still going to go to the hotel front desk to check in and get their hotel rooms, but the convention registration, it might be in the lobby, it might be in a hallway at a convention center, it might be in the lobby or the foyer. There's lots of different ways that we can set up those convention registrations. Typically, these registration areas are going to include 3 areas. So one is a packet pickup, one if we need to still pay on site, and then any kind of special events or services, people might be able to sign up for those, or information is provided about those. Typically, as people register, they may be given their badge, they may be given their packet at the same time. And so really kind of just depends on the type of group and the volume of registration that they're expecting, okay? Convention packets, they're distributed they might be distributed at the front desk, they might even be placed in the guest room, or they're given to people at the convention registration area. Obviously, giving them at the convention registration area is probably the most convenient, or maybe even the front desk, but placing in the guest room is going to be very labor intensive and typically at a cost to the meeting planner. We might, as the convention services manager, provide information about the hotel specifically at the check-in so people can have information about that. And now, as people are moving more digitally, there's actually even ways for people to create apps about the event, and they can put the whole schedule on an app. They can put information about everything on the app, and so that sometimes people will download that in advance and have all that information available for them. That's great because it eliminates the need to printing any kind of schedules or booklets or things like that. However, sometimes there are still some people that require a paper booklet. They don't necessarily use technology. So maybe not printing enough copies for everybody, but maybe upon request. When it comes to security, it's important to identify the ways that we can provide security for the people that are coming as part of the convention, to make sure that only those people that are there for the convention or meeting are taking part of the activities and the meetings and the sessions. And so typically badges are used for that. If you want to go into a convention show floor, or if you want to go into a meeting, you should be wearing a badge. And if you don't have the badge, then you wouldn't be necessarily allowed to go into that area. When we're talking about banquets, oftentimes using tickets can be used to control access into any kind of food banquets. And so we want to make sure that we have those different things considered and identified as how we're going to maintain security. Also, we want to identify what happens if somebody loses something or they forget their ticket. Do we have, at the last minute, do we have a place that they can check off their name off of a list? Do we have, what's the policy and the procedure for going through if someone forgets their ticket or if they forgot it? As far as exhibit security, this is even a little bit trickier because people aren't always in the exhibit hall. So during the setup and tear down, and then especially in the evening hours when nobody is in there, in the exhibit hall, this can lead to some security concerns and security issues. And so making sure we have security officers that are roving and walking around, making sure that the access to the exhibit hall is locked during that time when it's not in use, and also making sure that everybody that's going in there is there for the same purpose, and that they actually have a badge to access that. So we want to make sure that all of that is key and available to, and we're kind of ensuring that with our vendors and our exhibitors that everything is going to be secure and safe while the exhibit hall is not in use. Signage is really key to make sure that our guests and our visitors of the convention know where they're going. So working with the CSM to identify where would be good signage places. We might have easels. The hotel might have easels, or we might need to bring easels to set signs on. We could also want to make sure that maybe some of the hotels have digital reader boards, so that information is given to the CSM, that schedule, so they can put in the digital reader boards what's happening in that room at that specific time. We also want to make sure that our staff is well trained in knowing where to set the signs up, how to handle all of that. And so it's always a good idea to go ahead and walk the path of an attendee. Go ahead and walk the path of, like, when you are walking into the hotel, when you're coming off the elevator, what is the path that someone's going to take, and that will identify where you need to put signs. So some of our digital wayfinding examples, some hotels or conventions will have this where it shows, you are here, and it kind of gives you an idea of how to get to the other places. Not all hotels are going to have digital wayfinding, so you want to make sure that your signage is appropriate. For the meetings, oftentimes we're going to have a convention headquarters room. So that's for the people who are running the meeting to kind of have a headquarters station. Now the registration area is headquarters for the group. And so if I have a question about something, I'll go to the registration desk to ask a question about whatever I need information for. But the group that's managing the event, all the volunteers, all the meeting planners, they oftentimes will have a convention headquarters room. The other things that we can offer to the hotel, the hotel can offer, is storage of our guest packages. We can offer printing and duplication services. We can also offer decor whether it's through us or a preferred vendor. And then entertainment as well as part of the meeting. So these are other services that we can provide in addition to just hosting, just having the hotel available. So this kind of goes into our preferred suppliers versus exclusive suppliers. So preferred suppliers and exclusive suppliers, these are different vendors that maybe provide decor or AV or different entertainment, different activities, team building, that kind of stuff. And so these are the vendors that the hotel is going to recommend because we have a good history of working with them. We know that the product is a good quality. We know that the level of service is the same of what we expect as far as the hotel. And so it's really important that these hotels maintain and develop these preferred suppliers. It really kind of is up to the hotel if they want to allow just any supplier or vendor to come in. But regardless of whether they're preferred, they have a preferred list or not, there are certain requirements for the vendors to have in order to come into the hotel and provide their services. And so, these preferred suppliers, they can be a variety of different services. When we talk about the companion attendants, this is where people will bring their companion with them. It might be their family, might be their significant other, but this is a good way to increase the revenue of the overall group while also allowing those companions the opportunity to participate in the conference with their loved ones or their family members or whoever. And so this is really kind of a great way to do that, is by building these companion attendants. So activities for whether it's the guests of the conference or the companions themselves. Of course, we can we have shopping trips, wine tours, city sightseeing. We can do interactive experiences, cooking demonstrations. We might do lunch trips and shopping tours. So when I worked for Philmont Scout Ranch for the Boy Scouts of America, I worked at the training center where people came and did weekly training sessions, but they brought their families with them. And so for 2 of the 4 summers that I was working there, I was the director of the spouses program. And so I planned different types of activities. We went on different hikes. We planned, I did recycled paper making. We did Dutch oven cooking. I set up times at the craft lodge to go over specific types of crafts, so whether it was ceramics or beading or painting or leather working. And so, that was the job. It wasn't until later that I realized what I was doing. It wasn't until I was sitting in class, in actually this class when I was a student, that I realized what I was doing at the training center was exactly this concept of providing tours and providing activities for the companions. And so that I really enjoyed that job. And so after I made that connection and I realized that's what I was doing, it really solidified my thought that I was doing what I really love to do as far as event planning. And so, it's really fun. It gives you a chance to be a little creative, work with local vendors, and provide those memorable experiences for the guests and their companions. We might also look at, if we do have people that are bringing their families, if there's children, we might incorporate some type of activities for the kids to do. And so these are all different services that the hotel can provide, or the meeting planner of the overall meeting can look at these different types of activities. It's important to note that there should be a need for this, and so whether through the surveys of the meeting or whether through feedback from various people, it would be really important to note that is there a need for these activities, and if so, then we're going to want to include these. But if there's not really a need for it, then maybe you don't really need to consider that. But it's also really, really important to partner with the right vendors. So Kitty Corp and Kids Along are 2 examples of preferred suppliers that can provide these types of services for kids.